Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about morphological stages of tooth development. So in the previous video, we had discussed dental lamina, enamel organ, how is it formed, what are the processes. So I would suggest if you have not watched that video, you go back to that video, come back here later on so that this becomes more clear. So yeah, let's get started. So this is basically morphological stages of tooth development. So these stages are divided on the basis of how the enamel organ will look. So enamel organ takes on certain shapes during the development process, and on those shapes we have divided into different stages. And this is not exactly how it happens, like first will bud cap. This is what we've observed over a long period of time, and they have come up with this. So yes, first stage in that whole thing is bud stage. Okay, so in the beginning, if you remember dental lamina and everything, enamel organ has formed the downgrowth, and now this downgrowth, it has a oral epithelium in this. Okay, these are going to be HNE diagrams. Okay, histological diagrams. I know they are a pain in backside when it comes to drawing them, but you'll have to draw them. You'll have to draw them for the viva for the spotters that we see in the vivas, as well as in your examinations. So yes, it sucks, I know, but you've got to do it. Alright, so first is the oral epithelium that is coming from the dental lamina. Next thing in this diagram that is important is polygonal cells. So the enamel organ is dividing. So there is a continuous division of cells, and these are the different shapes a cell will take. So in the bud stage, in the beginning, the first stage, there's an oral epithelium coming from the dental lamina. There are inner polygonal cells, very important, inner polygonal cells, outer low columnar cells, and if you remember what is dental papilla cells, these are basically connective tissue cells coming from the neural crest cells or ectomesenchyme, and these are basically the condensation that is present, ectomesenchymal condensation. And dental follicle, I've forgotten to mark here. Dental follicle is basically the surrounding cells. Okay, so the surrounding cells which are surrounding the enamel organ as well as the dental papilla. So oral epithelium coming from the dental lamina. Dental papilla is basically the mesenchymal condensation, and dental follicle, the surrounding cells. We are clear with all these three things. Now, important thing, polygonal cells and low columnar cells. So how to remember this? Inner polygonal cells, low columnar cells are outer low columnar cells. So you can remember it as IP address type. I know it's a weird way to remember it, but this is how you can do it. So it can be inner polygonal cells and the vice versa, that is outer columnar cells. And remember, they are going to be different names. They're going to be cuboidal, columnar, or polygonal. These three are the different things that are going to come up. So हम लोगों को उसमें खेलना है. Okay, it's either a columnar or a cuboidal cell. So in the beginning, it's a low columnar cell. They are not tall columnar cells. Very important to remember, because these will grow up and then it will become tall. So it's in the bud stage, it's in the beginning. So that is how you can remember that they are going to be low columnar cells. Alright, next, cap stage. In cap stage, this whole diagram has changed now. You see, this upper portion is still the, what is it? It's basically the oral epithelium. Okay, oral epithelium coming from the dental lamina. Now, this niche, okay, first it was just inner and outer cells. Now they are getting divided into outer enamel epithelium and inner enamel epithelium. The center portion is known as the striate reticulum. We'll understand each one easily. So, outer enamel epithelium and inner enamel epithelium. So, ये जो concavity को line कर रहा है, this a portion which is nearby the dental papilla, they are basically inner enamel epithelium. So the one that is closer to the dental papilla is inner enamel epithelium. So you can remember is IP. पहले क्या था? Inner polygonal cell, and here IP stands for the inner enamel epithelium is close to the dental papilla cells, and outer, this outer region here, this is nearby the dental follicle cells, so OF. So yeah, it means OF or OF, you got it. Now, inner cells, pehle it was polygonals. Now they are tall columnar cells. So inner enamel epithelium are tall columnar cells. How to remember this? It can be ITC. IP was inner enamel epithelium is nearby the dental papilla cells. Okay, dental papilla. And this is what ITC company. Inner enamel epithelium, tall columnar cells, and outer enamel epithelium, they are basically cuboidal cells, separated from inner enamel epithelium through basement membrane and hemidesmosomes. So you will see me mispronouncing or not be able to pronounce a lot of things, and I'm sorry for that, and it happens. Okay, so it's basically separating the outer enamel epithelium. It's separated from the inner enamel epithelium through a basement membrane and hemidesmosomes. So simple way to remember this is इधर ये दोनों के बीच में there are going to be basement membranes and hemidesmosomes. These are basically the junctions of attachments in the cell membranes. You'll learn this in detail in physiology. Okay, so next is stellate reticulum cells. Now these are the new cells that have come into picture. We'll go back, revise again. Okay, so first it was inner polygonal cell, IP, outer columnar cells. Now we have inner cells near the dental papilla, IP like that, and ITC is inner tall columnar cells and outer cuboidal cells. And outer is nearby the follicle, dental follicle. And there is one more thing coming up, is stellate reticulum. Now the name stellate reticulum is very important. It's going to come again and again. Polygonal cells are present between IEE and OEE, inner and outer enamel epithelium. They have GAGs, basically glycosaminoglycans, which leads to water being pushed into the extracellular space due to osmosis. So basically, now polygonal cells. So pehle inner cells were polygon. They have been converted into tall columnar cells. And beach ke portion mein we have, in this center portion, now we have polygonal cells. तो polygonal cells जो थे, they were present in between them, and they had glycosaminoglycans, which is leading to water being pushed out of the cells like this from here. ये एक normal polygonal cell है जिसमें से पानी बाहर निकल रहा है. Why? Because it has a lot of GAGs, and it is due to osmosis, because obviously. Next is this water pushes on the cell surface, leading to the formation of star-shaped cells with cytoplasmic processes in contact. So what is happening? This water that was thrown out of the cell, now this water itself is going to push on the cell surface, which will lead to changes in the shape of the cell. So it was first polygonal, now it looks like a star. I am really bad at drawing, as you can see, but I've made an effort to draw it, so it will be like a star. And there are cytoplasmic processes over here. This is not how it's supposed to look like in your diagrams. It should look much, much better. So yeah, this is the nucleus. Please bear with me. These are the cytoplasmic processes. And this is a star-shaped cell. So these are in contact with दूसरे सेल के cytoplasmic processes. दूसरा कोई cell, yeah. So these processes are going to be in contact. What are the functions? Functions of stellate reticulum is, it has cushion-like consistency, thus it acts like a shock absorber. It protects and supports the enamel-forming cells. These two you have to remember. And it's very easy to remember this. And this is the only cell which will have all these functions. So, yeah, back to the basics again. Which stage are we talking about? We're talking about the cap stage. Now in cap stage, we have outer enamel epithelium, stellate reticulum, and inner enamel epithelium. Outer has cuboidal cells, stellate reticulum are polygonal cells which have turned into star shapes with cytoplasmic processes. Stellate का मतलब ही वही हुआ. And inner enamel epithelium, they are known as tall columnar cells. So stellate reticulum cells, they act like shock absorbers and will protect the enamel forming cells. Now let's talk about the we are talking about cap stage only. Okay, this is in cap stage. We are talking about the temporary structures or transitory structures that we see. These structures will disappear before the enamel forms, and these are very difficult to remember. So when I was in college, it was very difficult for me to remember these, because let's face it, they all sound similar and there's like no much difference in them. So yeah, let's see. First is enamel niche. It's basically enamel organs have double attachments to oral epithelium and enclosing the ectomesenchyme in between. This enclosed ectomesenchyme is known as enamel niche. So now back to the basic of that. Enamel organ will have two attachments, different attachments to the oral epithelium, and in between those attachments there is enclosed ectomesenchymal cells, and these cells are known as enamel niche. सिंपल भाषा में समझने तो या यहाँ पे here in this region, this we can see there is one attachment to the oral epithelium. So similarly there is one more attachment. I don't know how to draw this. Okay, this is what they said. So there is one more attachment, and these ectomesenchymal cells in between, which are present there in between, they will be known as enamel niche. So yes, back to this diagram. What is enamel niche over here? You see, this is actually bell stage, not cap stage, but you can understand from this as well. This area, this region that they have marked is enamel niche. This is the dental lamina, lateral dental lamina. This is the enamel organ. This whole area is the enamel organ. So attachment के लिए there are two different attachments, and this is also attaching to the dental lamina. This enamel organ. This is also. So ये जो दो attachment के बीच की जो layer है in between, that is enamel niche. Okay, so that is the enamel niche. Next is enamel knot. These are densely packed cells in the center of the enamel organ. These are densely packed cells. Ye center में over here, if you see, I have highlighted so much that I don't think you can see, but yeah, this I will use more highlighter. Yeah, so these cells over here in the center, they're enamel knot. They're enamel cord. Sorry, I am so sorry. But in a way, it's right too. Enamel cord is just an extension of enamel knot. You'll understand what I'm trying to say now. They act as a signaling center for the shape of the tooth, as many important growth factors are expressed by the cells of enamel knot. This is very important to understand. And they also act as reservoir for dividing cells. So basically what they've said is they are present in the center of the enamel organ. The densely packed region, center of the enamel organ पे बीच में रहेगा. And they act as signaling center for the shape of the tooth. So they actually decide the shape of the tooth in a way. And because there are presence of growth factors which are expressed by the cells of enamel knot, and they are also a reservoir for dividing cells. Now the vertical extension of this enamel knot is known as enamel cord. Vertical extension of enamel knot is known as cord, and they are also a reservoir for the dividing cells. Then comes enamel navel. So when enamel cord meets the outer enamel cord is meeting the outer enamel epithelium, and the point of meeting shows a depression that is known as enamel navel. What has happened? Vertical extension. Enamel knot ka vertical extension was cord. Cord say we are coming up with navel. How? When cord meets the outer enamel epithelium, it will show a depression. That depression is only known as enamel navel. And now that enamel cord forms enamel septum. Okay, so cord is meeting the outer enamel epithelium. So this is formed by the meeting of enamel cord with outer enamel epithelium. It divides the stellate reticulum into two parts. Now, how to remember this, which is the most important question. Okay, so diagram. This is the enamel niche and this is the enamel cord. In the center, vertical extension of the enamel knot. Center mein vertical extension is known as the enamel cord. How to remember this? First we talked about niche, then we talked about knot. Okay, you can remember them as NK, and if you know natural killer cells, NK cells, वेल एंड गुड. अदरवाइज यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस हाउएवर कि नीश इस्टेब्लिश किया, उसके बाद हमने नॉट बांधा. वट एवर वे यू वॉन्ट टू रिमेंबर, ये एन के याद कर लिया. एन के बाद वी हैव सी एन एस. वॉट इज इट? कॉर्ड नेवल सेप्टम. एकदम शॉर्ट में लिखा है तो इट विल हैव कॉर्ड नेवल सेप्टम. सो नीश, enamel knot, cord, navel, septum. Niche was what? They are basically दो attachments के बीच में ectomesenchymal cells which are present, वो niche बन जाएंगे. Knot में क्या हो गया? They are densely packed cells present in the center of the enamel organ. And these are very important for the shape of the tooth because they have growth factors in them. Then we have enamel cord, which is basically the vertical extension of the enamel node. नाउ कॉर्ड जो है वो भी इन नॉट से आया. नॉट, नाउ कॉर्ड विल मीट द आउटर एनामल एपिथेलियम एंड इट विल शो अ डिप्रेशन नोन एज एनामल नेवल, एंड दैट मीटिंग, वो मीटिंग से बनता है सेप्टम, एंड दैट सेप्टम विल डिवाइड स्केलेटल रेटिकुलम इनटू टू. सो एन के सी एन एस. आई हैव मेड अ लॉट ऑफ मेस एंड आई विल राइट इट अगेन. एन के CNS. All right. Next, so we are done with two stages, bud stage and cap stage. Now we have early bell stage. This stage determines the crown shape. What's the shape of the crown going to be? Inner enamel epithelium, which lies in the future cusp tip or incisor region, stop dividing earlier and begin to differentiate first. So इफ़ यू रिमेंबर, इनर एनामल एपिथेलियम यहाँ नीचे पैपिला के पास था, पैपिला सेल्स के पास. सो दे आर बेसिकली एट द लेवल ऑफ द फ्यूचर cusp tip or incisor region, and they are going to stop dividing earlier, first cells to stop dividing, and then they will begin to differentiate. Pressure exerted by the dividing cells on the enamel organ causes cells to be pushed out and form a cusp tip or incisor edge. Okay, and the cervical portion is last to differentiate. Cervical portion is basically जो हमारा clinical crown दिख रहा है उसमें जो सबसे last end portion near the gingiva, that's basically the cervical portion, and it's the last to differentiate. First cells to differentiate is basically the cusp tip of the incisor region के. Okay, this is again a poor representation that I made up or I came up with in my mind or when I read all these lines. So यहाँ पे था अपना और एपिथेलियम, ये अपना नॉर्मल इनामल ऑर्गन. इनामल ऑर्गन के ये टिप्स नीचे के एरिया में वी हैव इनर इनामल एपिथेलियम. माय हाइलाइटर इज टू थिक बट यू गेट माय पॉइंट. एंड ये रीजन से, दिस रीजन से डिवाइडिंग सेल्स over here, they will start differentiating and this cusp tips are forming. This is just what I have come up with in my mind. This is what I think is going on. Okay, this is not how it looks like when it's actually going on. This is what I think is going on. I hope that makes sense. And the junction between inner enamel epithelium and outer enamel epithelium is called cervical loop, and it is an area of intense mitotic activity. Very important to remember. अभी तक क्या हुआ बेल स्टेज में? इट विल डिटरमाइन द शेप ऑफ द क्राउन, हाउ इट्स गोइंग टू लुक. इट विल, द इनर एनामल एपिथेलियम लाइज इन द फ्यूचर cusp tip रीजन, वो डिफ्रेंशिएट होना चालू हो जाएंगे, वो प्रेशर डालेंगे एंड देन दे विल फॉर्म द cusp tip of the incisor edge. And cervical region, that is the thickest region, that is the last to differentiate. Now junction between IEE and OEE, inner and outer enamel epithelium, is known as cervical loop. दोनों के बीच में over here नीचे, if you see in this diagram, this junction, my highlighter is a little too thick for this, but ये जो point मैं बता रही हूँ, ये points, pointed regions, so these small points. So the junction between inner and outer enamel epithelium is called the cervical loop, and it is the area of intense mitotic activity. There is a lot of mitosis going on. Let's talk about the inner enamel epithelial cells. They are tall columnar cells that give rise to ameloblast. Very important. देखो अभी तक क्या था? First case, first scenario, Bell stage के अंदर what we learned is IP, inner polygonal, outer cuboidal, and then followed by that cap stage के अंदर what we have is ITC, inner tall columnar and outer cuboid. Now we have इनर एनामल एपिथेलियम में टॉल columnar cells, सेम ITC ही रहेगा, एंड दे गिव राइज टू अमीलोब्लास्ट. अमीलोब्लास्ट आर बेसिकली दी इनामल फॉर्मिंग सेल्स. सो enamel is coming from inner enamel epithelium. So ameloblast is coming from IEE. So basically ये जो है अपना IEE will give rise to enamel. There are some dimensions given for the cell, how the tall columnar cells or ameloblast look like at that stage, and this is one of my poor representation of what I think they will look like. So basically they have a height of 40 micrometer and a diameter of 4 to 5 microns. If you can remember this, amazing, you will get a lot of marks, and if you can't, you can forget this. It's not something very important, but this might come as an MCQ for your NEET MDS examination, so you should try to remember it. Now, in between the inner enamel epithelial cells, so these columnar cells, we have junctional complexes in between all these cells. Basically they are joined by junctional complexes, and there is presence of desmosomes with the layer of stratum intermedium. So inner enamel epithelium के ऊपर we have stratum intermedium, which I'm going to talk about next, and they are connected to them by desmosomes. अभी तक हमने पढ़ा था ऊपर desmosomes and junctional complexes, so you get how they are connected. Alright, so 2 layers we've talked. First is inner enamel epithelium. They are connected to stratum intermedium, a new layer that has come up only in the Bell stage. अभी तक we had only 3, inner, outer and stellate reticulum. Now one more stratum intermedium in between has come up. This exerts influence on dental papilla that forms odontoblast. So first what has happened, the ITC tall columnar cells have given rise to ameloblast, which look like this, and they exert influence on the dental papilla cells that form the odontoblast. So odontoblasts are coming from the connective tissue cells. They are the dental papilla cells, say odontoblast coming, and odontoblast gives rise to dentine. These give enamel. Okay, and dentine is formed before enamel, which we will talk later on. Okay, now let's talk about stratum intermedium. These are squamous cells, new types of cell. अभी तक हमने columnar, polygonal and cuboidal पढ़ा था. Now squamous cells are come into picture. They are present between inner enamel and stellate reticulum. Okay, डायग्राम में देख सकते हो, inner enamel and stellate reticulum के बीच में present है. They show desmosomes and gap junctions. सब में लिख दो. Honestly speaking, just write that. Don't take my advice, please don't take that. But yeah, you get my point. Desmosomes and gap junctions. Gap junctions are coming up now. बाकी सारे में desmosomes थे. They show high metabolic activity in high alkaline phosphatase. Very important. They show high metabolic activity. उसकी वजह से they have high alkaline phosphatase. Works with inner enamel epithelium in enamel formation. So this is working with IEE. See, remember this. ये क्या है? Inner enamel epithelium के पास है. So they are going to help them because वो दोनों साथ साथ है, and those two are going to help in enamel formation. So it's absent in the tooth germ outlining the root portions, as root में enamel नहीं है, dentine और cementum रहेगा. So it will be absent in the root portion का tooth germ. It will only be present in the crown portion का tooth germ. So they are rich in glycogen. So what we have learned, squamous cells है, they are present between the inner enamel epithelium and stellate reticulum. They will show desmosomes, gap junctions. They have high metabolic activity, high alkaline phosphatase, also rich in glycogen. I should have added this point ऊपर ही. So alkaline phosphatase and glycogen, उसकी वजह से metabolic activity high है, and it will work with inner enamel epithelial cells in the enamel formation. So that is why it is absent in the root portion of the tooth germ. Now let's talk about the stellate reticulum cells. Now वो हमने पहले क्या किया, stellate reticulum cells first they were polygonal. सेल के अंदर से पानी बाहर आया, पानी ने वापस धक्का दिया, उसको स्टार शेप में बना दिया साइटोप्लाज्मिक प्रोसेसेस के साथ. या सो नाउ दे विल एक्सपैंड फर्दर ड्यू टू इंट्रासेलुलर प्रेशर. दे आर एक्सपैंडिंग, वो मोटे हो रहे हैं, और दे विल हैव डेस्मोसोमल जंक्शंस. एज आई सेड, सब जगह डाल दो. डेस्मोसोम तो डाल दो भाई, गैप नहीं डाला तो ठीक है, डेस्मोसोम सब में डाल दो, यू विल फेच मार्क्स. इफ़ यू रिमेंबर कहाँ पे डेस्मोसोम है, कहाँ है गैप जंक्शन है, वेल एंड गुड. अदरवाइज सब जगह डेस्मोसोमल जंक्शंस तो है. नाउ it will collapse and reduce the distance between ameloblast and the nutrient capillaries near outer enamel epithelium. So yes, very important to discuss. अभी तक nutrients, all the capillaries they were in the connective tissue area. तो हमारा जो connective tissue का area है बाहर, वहाँ से न्यूट्रिएंट्स वर कमिंग इन. Okay, and now what is happening? It will collapse. Stellate reticulum बीच में collapse हो रहा है. It will reduce the distance between the ameloblast, that is the inner enamel epithelial cells, and the nutrient capillaries. They are present बाहर, outside the outer enamel epithelium. मतलब basically IEE और OE के बीच में कोई difference कम कर रहा है ये. And it begins at the height of the cusps and proceeds cervically. Same here also, first cusps में होगा and then cervical region में. Okay, now outer enamel epithelial cells, they are low cuboidal cells. हाँ, तो अभी तक हमने क्या पढ़ा था? टॉल कोलमनार सेल्स, लो क्यूबॉइडल सेल्स, सेम थिंग, लो क्यूबॉइडल ही है. Folds form at the end of this stage, and between these folds, mesenchyme of the dental sacs forms papillae that contain capillary loops, providing a rich nutritional supply for the intense metabolic activity. So again, what I said, अभी तक dental papilla से आ रहा था, and now what is there? ये low cuboidal cells थे. Now there are formation of folds in this layer, outer enamel epithelium, and in between these folds, the mesenchyme of the dental sac forms papilla, and these will contain the capillary loops, and this is how they provide nutritional supply for the intense metabolic activity that is going to happen. Now the actual thing is going to happen. अभी enamel and dentine form होगा, तो उसके लिए जो भी nutrients है, they will be supplied by the outer enamel epithelial cells in a way, okay? And this would adequately compensate the loss of nutrition supply from dental papilla owing to the formation of mineralized dentine. This change in nutritional supply is known as reversal of nutritional source. What has happened is कि dental papilla cells, they will divide and they will form dentine. Side by side वो लोग dentine बना रहे हैं. Dentine form हो गया, उसकी वजह से now there is no way that nutrition is going to come inside. I will show you with the help of this diagram. Okay, here. Now what was there? ये जो side में capillaries है, these were the ones that were providing nutrition before. Now what has happened is these dental papilla cells, इधर अंदर के, okay, ये सारी capillaries यहाँ पे थी, यहाँ बाहर भी थी, यहाँ पे भी थी. These cells, they have started forming the odontoblast, and these will lead to the formation of dentine. And once that dentine has laid down, तो ये जो है उसका पूरा कट ऑफ हो जाएगा सप्लाई. यहाँ से उसका पूरा सप्लाई कट ऑफ हो जाएगा ऑफ द इनामल ऑर्गन. Now that enamel organ will need supply, nutritional supply for the ameloblast to form. अंदर दूसरे cells हैं उनके लिए. So how that is happening? Outer enamel epithelial cells जो है वो now they will be supplying it. How? They will form folds, and the folds in between them, they are mesenchyme, and then these mesenchyme form the papilla. These will contain capillary loops, and they will act as a nutritional supply. And this change in the supply of nutrition is known as reversal of nutritional source. So outer enamel epithelium, stellate reticulum, outer बाहर का ये stellate reticulum, stratum intermedium in between, and inner enamel epithelium. Let's understand this in detail again. Early bell stage था, determines the crown of the shape. IEE जो है वो फ्यूचर कस्टिप पे रहेंगे, वहाँ से धक्का मार के कस्टिप बाहर निकल रही है बेसिकली, एंड सर्वाइकल पोर्शन इज द लास्ट टू डिफरेंशिएट. IEE एंड OE के बीच का जंक्शन को सर्वाइकल लूप बोलेंगे, विच इज़ द area of intense activity. Inner enamel epithelium cells, basically ITC, tall columnar cells है, they will give rise to what? They will give rise to ameloblast, and they will exert the influence on dental papilla जो कि odontoblasts बनाएंगे. Next is stratum intermedium cells. They are squamous cells. Stratum intermedium squamous cells IEE और stellate reticulum के बीच में, इनके अंदर अल्कलाइन फॉस्फेटेज हाई रहेगा, रिच इन ग्लाइकोजन रहेंगे, दैट इज हाई मेटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटी, एंड दे हेल्प इन एनामल फॉर्मेशन. तो वो रूट पोर्शन में नहीं रहेंगे. स्टेलेट रेटिकुलम वो स्टार शेप्ड थे, एक्सपैंड होके कोलैप्स कर जाएंगे, रिड्यूस कर देंगे डिस्टेंस बिटवीन आउटर एंड इनर एनामल एपिथेलियम. मतलब बेसिकली अमीलोब्लास्ट को अच्छे से सप्लाई मिलेगा फ्रॉम द आउटर एनामल एपिथेलियम, बिकॉज थोड़ी देर में आउटर एनामल एपिथेलियम will form the nutritional supply, and it will also begin at the height of the cusp and then proceed cervically. Outer enamel epithelium, I hope we have understood that clearly कि वो क्यूबॉइडल सेल्स है, दे फोल्ड्स आर फॉर्म, फोल्ड्स की वजह से सप्लाई चेंज हो गया, सप्लाई चेंज होने की वजह से दे आर गोइंग टू बी द वन हु विल गिव न्यूट्रिशनल सप्लाई टू द अमीलोब्लास्ट्स. Now let's come to advanced bell stage. Advanced bell stage. The boundary between inner enamel epithelium and odontoblasts outlines future dentino-enamel junction. तो अभी क्या हुआ, ओडोंटोब्लास्ट फॉर्म हो गए डेंटल पैपिला से. ओके, डेंटल पैपिला हैव गिवन राइज टू ओडोंटोब्लास्ट. द बाउंड्री बिटवीन देम each outlines the future in dentino-enamel junction because inner enamel epithelial cells will give rise to ameloblast जो कि enamel बनाएंगे. तो dentin enamel junction is there. Formation of dentine occurs first as a layer along the future DEGA region of the future cusp. Future cusp का जो dentino-enamel junction है वहाँ पे सबसे first dentine is formed. Then it will go pulpally and then it will move apically. फर्स्ट इट इज़ द कस्प रीजन, देन पल्प में एंड देन अपाइकली मतलब सर्वाइकल रीजन में सबसे लास्ट आएगा. ओके, अमीलोब्लास्ट हैज़ ऑलरेडी डिफ्रेंशिएटेड फ्रॉम द IEE एंड दे विल ले डाउन द enamel. Now enamel is laid over the dentine in the future incisal and cuspal areas which will go coronally and then cervically. समझा है? बेसिकली दिस इज़ वॉट, हर चीज़ फर्स्ट इज कस्प देन सर्वाइकल. तो पहले DEJ पे कस्प टिप पे फर्स्ट थिंग फॉर्म इज डेंटीन, डेंटीन पल्पल अपाइकल हो गया. देन अगेन अमीलोब्लास्ट ने डिफ्रेंशिएट करके इनामल ले डाउन किया विच इज ऑल्सो गोइंग सेम वे कोरोनली एंड देन सर्वाइकली. Cervical portion of enamel organ, very important. Cervical portion of enamel organ gives rise to epithelial root sheath of Hertwig. Cervical portion of enamel organ will give rise to the HERS, it is Hertwig's epithelial root sheath, HERS, which will outline the future root and is thus responsible for the shape, length, size and number of roots. हम HERS की detail में भी we'll go into the next video. So basically HERS what it does is outlines the future root and is responsible for the shape, length, size and the number of root. कितने roots रहेंगे कितने नहीं, मोलर्स में 3 क्यों है, 4 क्यों है, 2 क्यों है, प्रीमोलर्स में कितने हैं, ये सब that is decided by HERS. Now what has happened to the connective tissue cells side by side? Dental papilla cells differentiate before the enamel formation. They form the odontoblast जो कि cuboidal रहेंगे पहले, then followed by columnar and then they will form dentine and they will form pulp later on. Okay, तो पहले उसने dentine बना दिया, pulp भी बनाया, enamel ऊपर IEE से हम लोगों का enamel बन गया, तो तीनों चीज़ें बन गई. Now we have basement membrane separating enamel organ and dental papilla is known as membrana preformativa. Basement membrane which separates the enamel organ and dental papilla. नीचे के कनेक्टिव टिश्यू सेल्स और इनामल ऑर्गन को जो सेपरेट करते हैं उसको मेम्ब्रेना प्रीफॉर्मेटिवा बोलते हैं. लेट्स कम टू दिस फ्लो चार्ट दैट इज गिवन इन योर टेक्स्ट बुक. द टूथ जर्म इट विल गेट डिवाइडेड इनटू डेंटल लैमिना एंड ectomesenchymal cells, basically connective tissue cells if you can remember like that. Dental lamina is coming from the ectoderm of first stage and these are coming from neural crest cells. Now dental lamina will form the enamel organ. Enamel organ में क्या क्या रहेगा? Outer enamel epithelium, stellate reticulum, stratum intermedium, inner enamel epithelium and cervical loop basically क्या है? At the junction of IEE and outer enamel epithelium which has a lot of high mitotic activity. So outer enamel epithelium, stellate reticulum, stratum intermedium, they will all form reduced enamel epithelium. Very important to remember. So ये चारों चीज़ें outer, stellate, stratum intermedium, inner enamel epithelium, all of these will form reduced enamel epithelium which will lead to the formation of junctional epithelium. And inner enamel epithelium is the only one which will lead to the formation of ameloblast which gives rise to enamel. Cervical loop बना, cervical loop is basically number of length of shape of root, HERS को जो बनाएगा. Next is ectomesenchymal cells. They will have dental papilla and dental follicle or sac cells. So dental papilla they will give rise to odontoblast which gives rise to dentine and then pulp as well जो हमने पहले ऊपर डिस्कस किया. And then dental follicle we have cementoblast, fibroblast and osteoblasts. Important, जो capillaries जो हमने देखी थी, cementoblast, fibroblast, osteoblast, all of these cells are present in dental follicle. They will give rise to cementum, pedial and alveolar bone. Okay, so this is how a tooth is formed. I hope this video was useful. I hope you understood the entire video. Okay, let's do a recap. Short में सब कुछ starting से bud stage है, bud, cap, then early bell and advanced bell. Bud के अंदर what is there? IP, inner polygonal, outer columnar. Followed by cap stage. Cap stage में we have outer enamel epithelium, inner and stellate reticulum. Inner के अंदर what we have tall columnar cells, that is ITC, and it's nearby in papilla. So IP is inner enamel epithelium with dental papilla, near dental papilla and tall columnar cells, ITC. OF is outer enamel epithelium near the dental follicular cells. Stellate reticulum, again ये तो मैंने बहुत बार repeat कर दिया. So polygonal cells, they take star shape, they have cushion like consistency, shock absorbers, and protects the enamel forming cells. Transitory structures, we have NKCNS. This niche, knot, cord, navel, septum. I think this was clear. Then we have early bell stage, which will determine the shape of the crown. It will lies at the future cusp tip. So early bell stage will also have IEE, OEE, stellate reticulum, and stratum intermedium. One new layer is coming into picture. Your inner enamel epithelium cells are also again tall columnar cells, and they will give rise to ameloblast, and they will exert influence in the dental papilla cells that will form odontoblast. So वो जो odontoblast है, we will talk about this cuboidal columnar dental form हो गया, और उसके साथ pulp भी form हो गया. Now stratum intermedium cells, these are squamous cells, and they are present between IEE and stellate reticulum, and they have higher metabolic activity, high alkaline phosphatase. They will help in enamel formation. Stellate reticulum, they will expand further, collapse हो जाएगा, reduce कर देगा distance between outer and enamel epithelium, because ameloblasts are going to form, and then we need the nutritional supply. Now outer enamel epithelium, low cuboidal cells they will form folds, और उसकी वजह से they will form there is reversal of nutritional source dental papilla की जगह पे, because dentine has formed and they have cut off the supply. Now outer enamel epithelium will form the nutritional supply for the growing ameloblast. Advanced bell stage में basically what is happening is कि future DEG, dentino enamel junction पे dentin is first laid. It is following pulpally and then apically, and then ameloblast will lay down enamel, which will again be from the cusp tips or the incisal region, फिर coronally and cervically जाएगा. Cervical portion of the enamel organ will give rise to HERS, and which will determine the shape, length, number of roots that are formed. Okay, and the basement membrane separating enamel organ and dental papilla is known as membrana preformativa. I hope this was clear, and I have talked a lot in this video. I know this was a little longer video, but this is a very important question. I think this is going to come once, at least in your internal or maybe in your main examination, but this will come, okay? So you have to write this. I hope this video was useful, and if you like the video, please click on the thumbs up button, and please subscribe as well. And if you have any doubts, you can type them in the comment box below. And thank you so much for watching. Toodles.